interview with Miss Cindy Green. Miss Cindy Green is one of our English teachers with Virtual Arkansas. And I'm Kirsten Wilson, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Virtual Arkansas. And today we're joining you to talk to you about Standard and Indicator 3B with TESS, which is about using questioning prompts and discussion in order to enhance learning for students. And so today I'm going to start off asking some questions of Cindy and how she facilitates quality questioning and discussion in an online environment.
Hearing questions ahead of time not only helps me as the teacher, but it gives confidence for the student, because if they hadn't participated in, say, Socratic circles or Socratic seminars, that's a big name that can sound a little intimidating, and you're on video and you're outside of what your norm is for the classroom. So there's a lot of factors that can make students nervous. So one, the questions you as the teacher will help to guide these students to find good questions and to bring good questions by even providing them, whether it's question stems or exact questions. The kids get to look that up before they come to the discussion, and then they, that gives them a little confidence. So if a question comes up that's not on their list, by then they've built up some confidence. They're still going to respond because they have that kind of in their back pocket. So you want those cushions for them as well as for the teacher. Starts, even if you're not even looking at discussions just yet, it still starts on day one. So my classrooms are in Zoom, so I have to show that their input is valuable from the very beginning. And so I do that in several different ways. One thing that students and other teachers kind of know me for is the bell. I have a little hotel bell. Now, bells get a ding anytime you participate. You don't have to have the right answer, but you are participating. And that's the first thing, that even if they don't get something exactly right, they're still going to guide us, whether that's looking up another answer or how can we find something else out. There's still learning going on. It's not about just the right answer every time in 2 seconds. And so that bell lets them know that they are participating. They don't have to be perfectly right every time, but their input is valuable to the discussion. So that starts from the very beginning. I also do think, instead of ending class with, stay behind if you have any questions, instead, I require them to ask me a question every day that we're in a live class, whether that is about, it can be about me, if they don't have any questions about the lesson. So then that, we start to know each other as well. And they kind of think that's fun. So anytime we end a class, I say, okay, give me your questions, and that's your exit ticket with that. And once they start doing that, questions are just important. So that kind of starts day one.
Sounds like that scaffolding is really important, so that when you do get into those deeper discussions, students are already acclimated to the familiarity of having conversations and asking questions before it gets to a content type of thing. They've already experienced it in a more low risk, where they're more comfortable with things before it has the responsibility of bringing the academic part of the discussion in as well. Is that right?
Yes, scaffolding is very important. You start on the low end where it's just, valuing input. And we always do that throughout the year. We value the students' input. It also, again, acclimates the students to it because they slowly pick up these steps. And also, because you're scaffolding not only them learning the discussion and techniques, as well as, your behavior as the teacher. Are you stepping to the side? Are you coaching? Are you allowing enough space for answers? I try to let that pause go on as long as I can, or I try to lead them with another question before I just throw out the answer. Again, it's all in that value of their input, why they're there, why we're in. I give dings whether we get wrong answers or right answers, because it's going to guide us somewhere. It's not about just praising the kid who has the perfect answer with the perfect thing. It's about learning. It's the value of education. And once you get that connection going, then it just again, scaffolds and bridges into all those other higher concept learning. Actually, in my case, these students are not all from the same school with the same background in these with all, I mean, we're talking from across the state. And so the scope and spectrum can be very intimidating for students, especially if students come in feeling they weren't as prepared, or they hear another kid that's, you know, hear them talk and expect them to be at that level. And again, it's the value in learning. The student that's going to come in all prepared is still going to learn something. The student that has room to grow is still going to learn something, and neither one is more important than the other. And I think that's always very important in understanding, and especially in this situation. And I also I understand that there will be students that have anxiety things, and I hope that they're comfortable enough and they will talk to me. In that situation, I may have, let's say, 5 to 10 kids that have this anxiety with talking with someone. I may let them do their first Socratic discussion with just me, and maybe their facilitator or aide on the other side, or a student at the school that they're comfortable with. Or there may be some other kids in that arena where I say, okay, we're just going to have 6 people in this one, or 10 people, whatever that number is. I may message those students individually and say, hey, I understand you may have a little bit of hard time talking in front of people, so let's start small. Does that work for you? And I kind of work it out with them, or even their parent may be involved at some point if it goes that way. And I would just reschedule the sessions, the seminar kind of thing, and just work with them. And we usually figure it out. And after a few times, they're usually pretty comfortable just coming back into their traditional group.
And one thing I wanted to add is that that as administrators, we may not be aware that conversations and discussions don't just happen in the live classroom with the camera or the camera on and the mic off. It also could be happening in the back channel of the chat of the Zoom, or it can be extended into discussions in the learning management system within the course. So kind of talk to you a little bit about that, how you have multiple means of engagement when it comes to discussions with students that do provide them a lot of different opportunities to facilitate a discussion as well as participate.
Yes, and it can happen in lots of different arenas. Like our first seminar, we have a discussion board over a particular play or novel. So they've already answered those questions and conversed with one another on the discussion board. Then I just moved that same discussion with those questions. We just merged them into a larger arena and developed from those. Students could also at their school have a discussion. Let's say they miss the live Zoom and it doesn't, so they're going to record at their school or at their location, or they could have their own Zoom with other students. As long as discussion is happening, then it works. And I take ideas from other students. They could, record things individually, or they could come in smaller groups. We could start a different discussion board. There are so many avenues out there to change things up that, ask your students about those. That's what I do normally is I say, hey, I run into this problem. What suggestions do you all have? And the more that they can be in charge, the better. When we do live discussion, I put a student in charge of the live chat live video chat that's going on. Let me explain that a little bit differently. If it's a large group, let's say we're doing Socratic seminar, we're going to have a live group discussion. If let's say there's 30 people, 10 or 15 will be in the live chat. Their cameras will be on. Everyone else will have cameras off, and they run a discussion in what you could call a back channel. If you've heard that term before, they would, run a discussion in the back channel in the chat. And I put a student in charge of that too. They monitor it, they redirect, they help me count, how many times someone has responded. I do that with the live discussion. And then once someone has met their times to respond in the main live discussion, I rotate them out. So someone from the back channel goes into the live, someone from the live goes into the back channel. And it's just a constant, and it works pretty seamlessly. The more that you get students involved, the more they want to be involved. So that's usually what I do when it comes to that. I love the back channel. You can get a lot of discussion, even more so out of that. And then I let them bring those questions from the back channel into the live.
That sounds awesome. That would be something I would want to participate in. Cindy, I just appreciate so much you meeting with us today, using those, giving us examples of how we can use questioning and prompts for discussion to have quality questions, and that use of student responses to help drive continued discussion. Those techniques that you shared with us that are both as we begin the year and then as you go further into the year, how those get further developed, and then the creative ways that you have ensured that students want to participate and they have a reason to participate. So thank you so much for providing this on Standard and Indicator 3B. In the previous recording with Miss Green, we were talking about how she uses questioning through discussion and conversations with students in an online environment. One of the things that is really important for evaluators to note, or coaches to note, is that she utilizes a lot of scaffolding and also is purposeful in her planning as she moves forward. She designs things in such a way that students have experiences where they're low risk in regards to academic risk, where they attempt to do things before they're in a high risk environment. And so they acclimate to the actual platform of an online environment for learning before they move into a situation where there is an academic risk involved. In addition to that, administrators or coaches need to be aware that there are several ways that students can engage in regards to questioning and discussion in an online environment, whether it be in a live session or a back channel through chat, or in the learning management system through an asynchronous process that can happen before a discussion in live Zoom or after a discussion in live Zoom. And it's from those experiences that she's able to embed and invest with students in regards to discussion so that students are leading the discussions and guiding them. And she is the guide on the side, or the facilitator, which is what we're looking for if we're looking for teachers that are in a proficient to distinguished area in regards to the indicator in Standard 3B. Please note that this is an area that takes time, it takes growth, and teachers often have to build toward this. So it is encouraged that as your teachers move in this area of growth, that you notice places where there's scaffolding, supporting students and moving towards this expertise or this proficiency and distinguished area as they move through this, and really work towards that as they move towards being proficient and distinguished in the area of indicator and Standard 3B on tests.